This is for the practitioners of the Okuden program in Kempo and the martial arts. I'm right now talking to some students, and they're coming up with some very interesting questions pertaining to history. And so I think some of them are needed to be expressed. Also, you have to understand something. I'm going to go to Mitosi first. I can go to Mitosi, I could go to Robert Trias, I could go to a lot of different people that I've come across. Thomas Young. And questions are good to be answered. They need to be answered sometimes. Sometimes they're kind of silly. But when you do things and when you work on things, remember, you might have done one thing and it can mean so much later. You need to pay attention to your journey. I just did a lot of interpretation of Mitosi's meanings and his thoughts. And those interpretations, hopefully, you'll want to come across them. Watch for prejudice. You must watch for that. So I'm going to ask different students. I told them to hold up some of the questions, but then ask me. I just got a couple of them. Okay.
Sure. As you're reading, Matosi referred to his book as "What is True Self-Defense," and the word "true" stands out to me.
Hold on. Oh, you turned it off up here.
No. Okay, I'm just not hearing him. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, he can ask the question and I'll answer it. Okay. Are we ready?
Yes.
We got to do it all over again.
Can you?
Well, no, Eric can edit that bit out. Just start your question again.
Could you hear my question? Can you hear it now?
No.
If I speak loudly?
No. If you say the question, I'll repeat it.
Okay.
I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it.
So, yeah, he uses the word "true." What is true self-defense? Not just what is self-defense. Could you elaborate more on what he meant by adding the word
Okay.
"true"?
Well, the question that was just presented to me was, what did Mitose mean when he said true self-defense? And a lot of people don't understand something. First of all, true self-defense is learning to defend yourself against yourself. Now, what he meant by that, though, in true self-defense, there is no body contact, meaning that we have what we call the escaping arts. Okay? So say one thing Mitosi told me, if a man comes to you because he's a coward, teach him to be a good coward first. Teach him how to run. Now, once they understand that, the rest of it's pretty easy. If you can be behind somebody, by the time they throw a strike, you can go through them. So when Mitosi's talking about what is true self-defense, you don't fight. You don't fight. You leave, you control, or if you must, you have to destroy. But then that's why the cycle starts all over again. You also have to learn something about healing arts. How many of you out there claim that you know martial arts but know nothing about the healing? You must know both. It's very, very important. So as we're going, I'm listening to a question because of the microphone and this type of thing, and then I'll repeat the question. So what is true self-defense is that? An example. Another question that came to me, what about the Bodhidharma? He found the monks in bad condition. He developed various different hand postures and postures to develop strength again in the monks. He used meditation, he used breathing, posturing to develop the strength again within those practitioners. So is that self-defense? Yes, self-defense. It's a self-study of who you are and who you aren't. So when you talk about self-defense or true self-defense is being able to dominate a situation. I'm just going to bring this up. Those of you that watch boxing, if you watch a real good boxer, they have the footwork, they have the timing, and they know how to avoid. At the same time, they know how to enter. So we'll go to the next question.
Hanshi, is the secrets to evasion learned in the octagon and part of four walls?
Okay, the question was, is the evasions that you learned in the octagon and four walls? Yes, first of all, you have to remember, if you look at something, you have tunnel vision. And what you're doing is you're taking all the stimulus into the brain. That will delay your timing. Mitosi could learn, and he taught me about learning the art of seeing without looking. You use a periphery. It increases your timing. If I look directly at something, I'm actually giving what I'm looking at strength and stability. I'm sure all of you have been in a situation where someone's talking to you or you're talking to them and they walk away. You're left by yourself. Mitose knew, and he studied those things. I remember him teaching me about hearing. One time I was sitting with him and he had me try to pick out the sound of a bird, which was probably 30, 40, 50 yards away. Elevation of the ears. So you cut out negative stimulus. So when you're doing things, you want to pay attention. So when it comes to the octagon's important. There's an octagon drill that we do. It's for the art of, we call it 3/8, of escaping, evasiveness, how not to get hit, how not to take a strike, how to dominate. When I brought up boxing, a good boxer can dominate through posturing and positioning. Some are into power and strength. That's their strength. Each one of you will choose your own methods of going. But remember, you cannot have yin without yang or kyo without jitsu. They all have to be there. Kempo is about self-study. Prince Shotoko, in the 600 A.D., he created the constitution for the Japanese on how they would behave physically and spiritually. And that behavior was called a kempo. It meant constitution. All of us live by that. First thing a society does, it learns to live in harmony and in peace. The others are, then you learn to control aggression. Then after that, differently. If all you do is pay attention to, geez, I want to know what the outcome is if I get in this fight with this guy, the bigger guy is going to win. Next question.
When talking about the different provinces in China, like Hunan,
Hmm?
what kind of styles
Okay.
was for that one? And then take just maybe one of the styles, and does it relate to today, a similar area in the U.S.?
Sure. Okay. All right. Question. What about the different regions of China and what systems derive from that? Now, there's always a crossover. So like, for instance, if you take the form called tiger, crane, or fuhak, that is a common form amongst many systems. Many systems will use that form. But I will take a region and explain where they mainly come from. A lot of the Chinese arts migrated to Okinawa. They came there, and I would say one of the main influences in Okinawa came from Fujian province, Fuchao. That's where your white crane came and is dominant. You can see a lot of this in the karate systems. One called Hakusuru, white crane. That is dominant. Long fist, so white crane. Okay. Hokkien, I believe. Now again, there's a little bit of a crossover, no matter what. Hokkien, I would classify as Bagua, Xingyi, Daichi. Posture's different. They're working on more of a enclosed structure. You'll see push hands, those kinds of things. And I would say if you're going to look at an animal system, it's monkey. That was Mitose, Hokkien. Mitose was very observant, and he would remind you of a monkey. So you have Fujian, Hokkien, and there's other systems that come under that. You got to remember, man, no matter what you do, if you have a plate of food, one is more dominant than another. It depends upon where you're at. Hokkien, Kwangtung. Kwangtung is a power-based system. And you see a lot of that within Hongar, a lot of systems such as that. Shangtung, ripping, tearing. You think of terms of, I'm going to bring up the animal thing, the tiger. Things like that deal with a crouching movement, ripping out. Okay? Honan, whipping. If you're going to classify it with an animal, it's dragon. Systems and styles that are more dominant in that way. I would say a lot of the Korean taekwondo is based off of that. Now, that's one. Although Each system and culture borrows from the other. The idea is you got to remember something. No matter what, you're going to have different elements. Okay, some people have a real strong coffee, some don't. It's all okay. But when you study your martial arts, remember that. For instance, a system that's very popular, and today, and it was brought over by someone that I had all the respect for in the world, who happened to be Mitosi's first student. His name was Robert Trias. Robert Trias brought Shuriru. Shuriru is based off of Xingyi. It's an internal style. What happened is it became popularized by Sanban Kumite, 3-point sparring. Okay, and I'll bring up Robert Trias. Not too many people on the planet that ever had that much knowledge. You know why? I'll never forget, every year of his life, he would go back to Okinawa. He would stop in Hawaii. He would see Professor Young. Thomas Young and him were very close. And Robert Trias, when he came here, he brought Shuriru. He called it Shurigoju. Nothing to do with Gogen Yamaguchi. Had to do with hard soft. Shuri, hard soft. So all of the different regions of China, they all are more structured towards different systems of Kung Fu. Now, a little story about Mitosi. And I'll try to mimic, I can't really mimic him, but he looked at me once and I had a tiger on a patch. He says, "Why do you have tiger on patch?" "Oh, it represents this." And he says, "No, tigers see you. Act like tiger, he eats you." He says, "You're a person. That means you have the ability to change from one to the next. Sho chiku bai. Change your footing in the ground, everything else changes." So you could go, we talk about the regions of China, you can take a journey from Fuchao or Fujian to Hunan to you name it, just by changing the elevation of your feet, connection to the ground, which will change the internal organs, which changes your spine, which allows you to do all of these things.
So can I take that a little further?
Sure.
So it's a point of probably curiosity. Here in the U.S., all those same styles, are they heavier in different portions of the U.S. than others? Or are they just sort of scattered?
Well, the question was, are those styles dominant in different areas of the U.S., or are they kind of scattered? Well, I think for those of you listening and watching, I think the problem we have today, we become confused. And so, yeah, there's some different pools of martial artists. For instance, I'll bring up a couple of styles. Kempo Karate from Ed Parker. Ed Parker was a genius. For what anybody says, he was a genius. And he spread what he believed in, which he got not just from William Chow, but other people. Parker was a guy that really did study. The biggest problem that we all have in the martial arts, we'll have a tendency to have a curriculum and then we create a little god out of it. You can't do that, man. You can't do that. That becomes, I've heard another practitioner, well, we have a set curriculum. That's silly. Your curriculum doesn't stop till you're dead. And it doesn't stop then. It stops way after 1, 2, 3, 4 generations. Another thing. Remember this. And when you're doing martial arts, there's no end to the study. There's never going to be an end. And each time you do something, every day you wake up, guess what? It's a bummer, but you're going to get older. As you get older, your understanding of things are going to change. And you have to remember this, that Kempo is a study of laws as we move, as we do things and don't do things. Right now, everybody's busy trying to question each other, which is kind of silly. There's only one art. Mitosi explained that to me. Robert Trias knew it. There was only one art, and that's the art of study. The regions, those are what I call influences, and those are what I call signatures. Every style has a signature. To really understand the essence, you have to try to study all of them. You have your Sho Chigobai, upper, mid, low art. Can't exist without all of them. Can't exist without your kidneys, unless you have a transplant. Without a heart. You can't exist without lungs. It all works, and it all has to be cohesive. When you're fighting or hitting, every muscular part of your body has to be involved. You cut out a little bit of it, doesn't work. We have an art called a ruki no waza, walking trick. And what you're doing is positioning your lower base with your opponent's lower base. He goes to move real hard, he'll snap himself. When you can do something, it means you have to know how you can't do something. And the idea is you tune in again to 12-6-3, Sho Chiku Bai. What is it I'm leaving out? Now, all of those regions of China had all of those elements. Some favored others more than the other. When the systems came from China to Okinawa, there were only so many different people that brought those over. Of course, their influence, like when it came to Fujian, was white crane. The idea is to know that. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It means it's okay. They're all okay. All arts must be respected and loved. And the old pioneers, they all must be. Bring up some of those people. Edmund Parker must be respected, must be loved. Adriano Emperado of Kajikembo must be respected, must be loved. But the thing is, you got to watch your ego when you do that. Don't throw them into the dirt by saying that it's all about that and nothing else. That is silly. Okay. Questions?
Brought up the 18 hands alone before. I've looked at it, and I've seen just more than 18 different postures. Do you know of a source where you can find maybe the more accurate or more chronologically, like the first original 18 hand low hands?
Okay. All right. You ready? All right. Question was about, is there a source that you can find the original 18 hands of low on? Yes, there's several different places you can read. A lot of them, the breathing postures you do. We do a thing called moving meditation. We're using the hand postures. It'll change your breathing structure. If you bring your hands up and take your exhale, you're going to feel different parts of your abdomen, different parts of the body. You tune into that when you breathe, you are now exercising your internal organs. Matosi did what we call moving meditation. And what it was, the hands will open, they will close. It represents taking in the energy of the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, and you bring it down below the hara. And what you're doing is you're basically swallowing that energy. So the idea, too, now you can use a lot of different terms to describe that. You could call it, how many different ways? Well, for instance, there's an exercise people use. You want to learn to change those things? How many ways can you change your internal organs? You can change them in a lot of different ways, okay? Your posture, your attitude, all of that changes. You get an upset stomach because you're upset. What's happened? Part of your body is in rejection to what's going on. There's an exercise that Mitosi used to talk to me about, escaping arts, and he would talk to me about personality. There's a technique, and falls right in suit with things. And I'm gonna use it. I hope I don't get myself in trouble. It's called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. There's a man by the name of Bandler and Greiner, and they are the ones that formulated NLP. For instance, what it means is if I want to be like you, and I watch the way you walk, if I mimic your walk, guess what I'm doing? I'm feeling what you feel. I become you. I used to have acting classes. I used to have a student come in who was an actor and teach my students how to do that. And in doing so, they would feel the muscular structure, their internal organs, and everything else change. What is the difference between that and the 18 hands? There isn't. You see somebody, their voice monotone, the way they talk. That's NLP. So if I wanted to be somebody, all I have to do is mimic the way they stand, the way they walk, facial expression. That changes everything. Examples of martial artists that did that. I'm going to bring up a couple of people. And for instance, the late Wally J., the late Professor Sig Kufrath, the late Liber O'Sullivan. Now these guys are Danzanru or Kodenkan or Small Circle. The first thing I looked at when I saw Wally J., and the first thing I saw when I saw Professor Kufrath, they had this smirk. And that smirk would tell you how the rest of the body was responding. Right away, they were in a relaxed state. Right away, they were able to move. And if you're going to classify that to one of the regions of China, that's Hokkien, that's monkey, that's relaxed. Therefore, they could capture any part of their anatomy they needed to be able to produce and do something. And those that didn't, those of you that are part of the Okuden group, please keep up with it. Right now, I'm redoing the Last Disciple in Fall 7. You'll see several different things in there that you've never seen. It's a different type of a collection. But all of these things I'm saying to you right now, if I want to see how somebody's going to fight, all I have to do is watch the posture. I know if they're long range, intermediate, or short range. I'll bring up Rick Alemany for a second. Rick Alemany has always got, when he was fighting, this sneaky grin. You know what that meant? You're going to lose your ribs. Okay? And was it the fact that Rick knew how to punch and kick? No. It's the fact that he was relaxed in doing it. He could observe but be calm in his observation. Wally J did a technique, he could enter. Small circle, the finger lock and all this, that's good. But now what's more important is his entry. Professor Kufrath, he was sizing you up all the time. He knew exactly what you were doing. Kufrath and James Matosi were very close. And Professor J, what I'm talking about is that. So when you watch teachers, think in terms of what I said, NLP. That's what you watch. And I look at my different teachers. One of my teachers, Remy Priestess. Remy taught me a lot. When Remy and I started traveling together, we did a lot of communication. And a lot of things that people don't understand about Professor Priestess, he was an observer. He would size you up 24/7. Kabbalist, the same. The culture doesn't matter. What matters is the demeanor. If I'm fighting with a baston, that's the stick, I look at the way somebody is holding a baston. It's going to tell me, are they long range, short range, intermediate? Are they a Sarata man? Are they Doce Pares? Pakiti Tersi? What do they do? I look at that. I watch somebody's gait. I know how they're going to move. Are they short range, medium range, or intermediate? If you look at observation and observe practitioners, what will happen is I don't want to see them retire, I hate to say it, to the Pizza Hut. You do that when you're done. Never be done. Each time we get up in the morning, we feel different, we have to move different. It's okay. Just got to get through it. Tune in to Sho Chiku Bai. By the way, that symbol, Kosho symbol, it dates back to Confucianism. That's how old it is. If you look up pine, bamboo, plum, it'll tune you right into that. The three friends of winter. What does that mean? That means to learn to control all elements and learn to balance them all. To understand Kempo or Kosho, those are the things that you want to study. Otherwise, you become frustrated, you become angry, and it ends up looking silly. Okay. That's good. Thank you very much.